Hello.
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 Welcome to Hugo Girl. Very, 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 very funny podcast where we talk about science fiction fantasy properties that are more or less Hugo related. I am Amy.
I'm Lori.
I'm Haley.
Hey guys.
I feel like the bar is high. We have to be very, 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 etc. funny.
It's all in the eye of the beholder, in the ear of the beholder.
I have a couple zingers this episode.
Oh, good. I don't have a whole lot, even though this book is so long.
This time we read A Fire Upon the Deep by Vernor Vinge, which won the Hugo Award in 1993. It shared it with Doomsday Book by Connie Willis, which we also have an episode about. Dear listener, go listen to that one too.
Don't forget the bell.
Oh, she would have her bell. I liked looking this one up, and we'll get to the rest of our intro stuff in a second. I just was going to say, I liked looking this one up because apparently the finalist voter packets in the 1993 Hugos were issued via CD-ROM.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes me really happy to think about. I think it was like the Hugos and the Nebulas, I think, or something. All the finalists were on one.
It was 92 or 93?
Yeah.
So 1993, I was in 5th grade, and May Howard Elementary got its first CD-ROM computer, and it was a big deal.
Yep. Yeah, it just feels very 1993 to have a CD-ROM. And I tried to find one. You can get them for like $200 if you join the EFF, I think.
And if the book is on the CD-ROM, you have to sit at your computer to read it?
Yeah, it's like an ebook.
Or you can print it out.
Yeah, but I can read an ebook on a nice little e-reader that is eyeball friendly.
I really wanted to find one because apparently Vernor put a lot of notes on it.
Oh,
like annotations on the CD-ROM.
Interesting.
Which would have been cool to see.
That's like getting the director's cut.
Yeah. I'm going to get more about the CD-ROM later, but let's do our things. Do we have any comments, reviews, acknowledgements?
I wanted to say thank you to Natalie on Blue Sky because I have the hardest time remembering how to say Vernor's last name, whether it rhymes with dingy or rhymes with dingy.
Wikipedia has a pronunciation, but
it does not rhyme with Minge.
No, it does not rhyme with Minge.
We rhymed Joan with Minge, and then we found out that was not the right way to say it. And I couldn't remember what the right way was, and I asked Blue Sky, and Natalie said, rhymes with dingy, Vingy. I have it right here in front of me. Dingy. I have rhymes with dingy, and I look at the word, and I'm like, is that dingy?
Well, Natalie, you tried.
All right. Dingy's got an H.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that. I just can't look at this word on the page and be confident.
I also like the boomer-sized text message you printed out.
It's because we're of a certain age, Haley.
This is because I took a screenshot on my phone and then I just pasted it into my notes instead of retyping.
Gotcha.
But no, this is not really.
You took a picture of a Blue Sky with your phone and then printed it.
I took a screenshot, not a picture. Jeez, you guys. You know, you go out of town, you don't hear about Ray Gun. Next thing you know, everyone's treating you like you're their grandpa.
I'm delighted by this because I just ran across an email from my dearly departed father where he was trying to email me from a tablet that I had gotten him.
Okay.
And he couldn't get it to send. So he took a picture of it with his phone, printed that picture off.
And he mailed it to you?
And then I think he took a picture of that. And that's what got attached to the email that he sent me about the email that he couldn't send me.
Oh, Dad.
That's Georgeception right there. Right?
Yeah. No, so I did this at work, okay? And I was like, oh, I like this post on Blue Sky, which I won't call a skeet because that's gross.
I don't like it.
I want to call it bloop. It's Blue Sky.
Oh, I like that.
Bloop, but it didn't catch on.
And then you can have a blooper if you have to delete it.
Such a good idea.
Well, it's perfect. I think we should just still use tweet language because Google now means to search.
Yeah, people have said that, and also then it would piss off Elon Musk. So it seems good.
Chirp?
A chirp. Okay, so anyway, I was at work and I saw this and I was like, I like that. And I screenshotted it and then I just pasted the screenshot into my notes on my phone and it's giant. It wasn't my choice.
It's very easy to read.
Most of the time I wish my notes were bigger, so I cannot judge.
True.
I just thought this was interesting. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with this book, but it's a bloop from Bo Thompson and it says, I love when folks who read hard sci-fi forget that social sciences are also sciences and were often the most important area of exploration to the writers of their favorite classic sci-fi stories. Too often they're dazzled by technology but miss the probing of how society is changed by it. And I found that illuminating.
That is good.
And it immediately made me think of The City in the City and we were like, is this science fiction? It's social science fiction.
Demolished Man.
Demolished
Social
Man.
science fiction.
Makes me think of all of N.K. Jemisin.
Yeah.
Ursula Le Guin. Pretty much anything that's not like the big three.
Anything that's
if it's not a space opera, it's probably
and
social.
The city in the city is very much like there's no weird technology, there's no spaceship. So anyway, I found that
That's a good one.
illuminating this afternoon as I was scrolling instead of working. Sorry.
I'm into it.
I think that's part of the reason why people weren't as jazzed about Ursula at first, is because she was an anthropology major. Like she wanted to
She
talk
wrote about a
people.
big forest.
Yeah. Like, we don't care. I mean, but then she also invented the Ansible, which everyone now uses. It's like commonplace in science.
Which I read a very scathing review of this book that was complaining he didn't think of the Ansible when he was writing his book. And I was like, well, he didn't. He just didn't want to use it. He wanted to use something else.
Yeah, he wanted to use Usenet.
Which we're going to get to. I'm so excited.
Okay. Thanks for the detour. That's it.
Yeah.
I was going to mention one nice email that we got this week from our newest Stephen, who very kindly emailed to let us know that there is a personage from the Franklin expedition in the book, The Ministry of Time. And we are very delighted that he sent that email. But it sounds like he thinks that we are not all equally obsessed with the Franklin expedition and the Terror.
We are.
So I just want to make sure that our listenership knows. I'm setting the record straight.
Clarification corner.
We are all, this is a clarification correction corner. We are all equally obsessed.
In case you didn't realize it when we mentioned it in almost every episode.
Well, I said I didn't care for the TV show, so maybe that's where the misconception came in.
Also, there's a Moby Dick tie-in in this book. Did you catch it?
I don't know.
Yay. Okay.
I love that Stephen was like, oh my God, Stephen, a character from The Terror. Gotta tell the girls.
Yeah.
Yes, please do that. 5 stars.
This is how we want to be known. Okay. Oh, the other thing I'll just say this now. The other thing I was going to say about the CD-ROM thing.
Yeah.
My favorite fact about that is that it was distributed by Clarinet Communications, which was a news service that delivered the news on the Usenet news group, which, if you have read this book, you will recognize as the net, the known net, or the net of a million lies.
Still true.
It's all very meta. I just really like it. I should also mention this book. This book won the 1993 Hugo for Best Novel. It was also nominated for the 1992 Nebula, the 1993 John W. Campbell Memorial Award, and the 1993 Locus Award.
Good job.
Got its flowers. Okay. Brief plot summary attempt.
This could either be 7 paragraphs or 3 sentences.
It's just this.
Yeah. Oh, good
So
job.
I tried. So bear with me, kids. All right. First, a primer. In the world of this book, there are zones in which certain technologies work, and zones in which they do not work. And the zones in which the technology does not work are also zones in which actual thought doesn't work as well, which is a fascinating concept.
Oh, that explains it. I didn't realize
Zones of
that.
thought. Yeah. Zones of thought. That's what they're called. The zones are, broadly, the slow zone, the beyond, and the transcend. The slow zone is nearest the galaxy core. Faster than light travel and communication is not possible there. The beyond is where most of the sentient races in the story live. It's a region where faster than light travel and communication is possible, and artificial intelligences can achieve true sentience. The transcend is inhabited by the powers, which are sentient species that have reached technological singularity.
You forgot the unthinking depths.
Did we go there in the book?
No, but it's part of the zones.
That's true.
Yeah.
Unthinking depths are closer to the core than the slow zone. So literally nothing can do anything there.
I like to imagine that's where the dinosaurs live.
Was Earth in the slow zone or the unthinking depths?
Slow zone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Also called, the slowness. And then there's like these unofficial little bits of all of those. Like there's the bottom of the beyond and the high beyond and the high low transcend. And so anyway, that's all going on in the book while we are reading the plot, which I will now tell you. Okay, the story. A group of ambitious humans from the Stromley realm are working at an outpost called High Lab. There they discover and awaken a 5 billion-year-old evil superintelligence called the Blight. At the same time, 2 other superintelligent entities are created, and they create a countermeasure against the Blight. There's your setup. The humans attempt to escape and trick the Blight by putting all their adults in one ship and all their children in another ship. The Blight destroys the ship with the humans, but the ship with the children escapes, and it carries the countermeasure with it. That ship eventually crashes on a planet in the slow zone inhabited by a race of pack-mind wolf-like creatures called the Tines, who are essentially living in the Middle Ages. Meanwhile, the Blight escapes and begins infecting or killing sentient beings in the beyond. One Stromley child, Jeffrey, I looked that up.
Oh, really? I was like, Jeffrey?
Yeah, me too.
We're probably going to call him Jeffrey. One Stromley child, Jeffrey, sends out a beacon from the slow zone. So there were 2 children on the ship that crashed on the Tynes planet. One of them is Jeffrey. Jeffrey sends out a beacon from the slow zone, which is received by one of our heroes, Ravna, a human librarian. When the Blight reaches Relay, where Ravna lives, she barely escapes with our other heroes, Pham Nguyen, a reconstituted human who also contains a little bit of a transcendent power, and 2 Scrode riders.
Scrode
Did you say Scrotum riders?
No, I did not. And our
That's the title.
okay. And 2 Scrode riders named.
Every time I read that word and he uses it 1,000.
I never once thought about it
I
until
didn't
you
either.
guys said it.
Well, once
Oh,
you
man.
said it out loud, I was like, oh.
I don't even see balls on a regular basis.
Wild. Okay. 2 Scrode riders named Greenstalk and Blueshell, who are essentially.
Sometimes I just call them Scrodes. All right, Scrode riders.
I'm sorry.
Are we going to be able to say this word at all during
Yes.
this? Okay.
I'm fine now. Turn it off.
All right.
Just call them the writers. They often just call them writers.
Well, it's the plot. Somebody was going to use the real word.
Yeah. I just mean going forward.
Okay.
You're good. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. When the Blight reaches Relay, where Ravna lives, she barely escapes with our other heroes, Pham Nguyen, a reconstituted human who also contains a little bit of transcendent power, and 2 riders named Greenstalk and Blueshell, who are essentially sentient potted plants. Our heroes must travel to the slow zone while being pursued by the Blight to rescue Jeffrey and deploy the countermeasure. Meanwhile, Jeffrey and his sister, Johanna, are each living with the Tynes, unaware that the other is alive. Jeffrey is with the Flintserists, a group fanatical about eugenics, and Johanna is with the Woodcarvers, who are somewhat more enlightened. The 2 factions are each trying to keep the other from exploiting the new technology which has landed on their planet, and the 2 children are being used as pawns. A war is brewing, which culminates just as our heroes arrive from the beyond. Much edge-of-your-seat action later, the Flintserists are defeated, and the countermeasure is deployed. The countermeasure enlarges the slow zone, trapping the Blight and impacting anyone else caught in the expansion. The Blight will still reach the Tynes planet, but it will take thousands of years. Our heroes, minus Blueshell and Pham, R.I.P., but plus all the Stromley children who have been awakened out of cryosleep, start a new life on the Tynes world.
Good job.
Oof.
Good job.
That's about it, right?
That was a lot of work.
Okay.
A lot happens in this book.
A lot happens in this book.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I want to get my Joe book because she has a funny.
Oh, I have Joe in here.
I wonder if it's the same thing.
It could be.
Joe loved this book.
Where she's like, this book has everything, and then she lists everything with exclamation points. She's like,
No.
she's like Stefan.
That's not the part I had.
Okay, so you said a lot happens in this book. Joe Walton says, it really is the book that has everything. Galaxy-spanning civilizations, thousands of kinds of aliens, low-bandwidth speculation across light years, low-tech development of a medieval planet, female point-of-view characters, a universe where computation and FTL travel are physically different in different places, an ancient evil from before the dawn of time and a quest to defeat it, a librarian, a hero, 2 intelligent pot plants, a brother and sister lost among aliens, and a curious mind split between 4 bodies, and the stakes keep going up and up.
It has water. It has mountains. It has space.
I don't give any man credit for having a woman character.
Well,
A woman point of view character is actually not that common from a male
hard to
writer.
come by, especially in 1993.
though, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just refuse to give men any benefit of the doubt when it
I
comes
think
to...
that's fine.
Yeah.
We all find our own way through this mess.
It's okay for it to be noted, though.
Their characters breathe oxygen.
Goodreads. Goodies from Goodreads. What you got?
Scott on Goodreads gave it 1 star. This is a little bit long. Utterly awful twaddle. The kind of rot that gives space opera a bad name. The fact that it won a Hugo greatly diminishes that award's brand, in my opinion. I gave up about a third of the way in. This book's biggest problem is that there are so many characters and settings in it that I really struggled to have any idea what was going on. I read for pleasure, not for pain.
You must have been reading in the slow zone. I guess we all were.
So I fell back on Wikipedia to help me figure out where the plot was going, at which point the wiki summary revealed a ho-hum who cares ending that simply wouldn't have been worth the journey. It's difficult to believe people actually read this stuff. Most, if not all, the characters are boring and have really silly names. Oh, and I'm unsure if Vernor Vinge can actually write decent prose. Avoid.
Wowzer.
I know.
I agree with all of that.
I agree that some of the plot is convoluted for sure. I don't agree with the rest of it.
Twaddle.
I found a nice review from Mike Glyer from File 770.
Oh.
He was talking about how this was, this was a tie with Connie Willis. And he's like, Doomsday Book. Why was it a tie? Let's think about it. And he said, first, Vinge never made me really care whether his characters went out. He merely made me curious about the final choices that he'd craft into the ending. When a story of children in jeopardy fails to jumpstart a reader's emotional connection to its characters, that's a bad sign. At least in my view, history has broken the tie between Willis's and Vinge's novels. And I agree with that.
I was emotionally engaged.
It was in response to him saying that Joe wrote her essay. Joe was like, what? Yeah, in her book,
Get him, Joe.
History of the Informal History of the Hugos, she said that Mike Glyer had said, as if no one would possibly disagree, that Doomsday Book was better than Fire Upon the Deep, and she really likes both of them.
I think they're both good. They're both very different.
Oh, totally. Yeah. They're so different. She really likes both of them, and in the book, she has an essay, separate essays about each of them.
I have 3. 2 are very short. I managed to find a review of this book by Felicia Day from
nice.
2010 on Goodreads. 4 stars. I guess the only thing that I didn't enjoy, the review was pretty long. There's just one part. I guess the only thing that I didn't enjoy was the fact that the aliens were so animal-like. I can't read Watership Down without sobbing page 1 or Charlotte's Web, so that's just my problem. Upshot, if you're looking for fantastic sci-fi, look no further. I just had to watch some kitten videos afterwards to lift my spirits back up.
Oh, wow. She was that affected, damn.
Listen, I got pretty upset when Blue Shell died.
Oh my God, me too.
I got pretty upset. I was pretty upset by it.
I was really upset when
I really
Blue Shell
liked
died.
the Scrotum Riders.
Me too.
I thought they were cute.
Also, Blue Shell, what a cute name.
I know. Well, I'll get to that. We'll get to why, but Georgie gave it 1 star and said, maybe it needs a very relaxed mind. I guess he doesn't have one. That's
a very funny thing to say.
I will say that is a translation from Georgian, which is where he lives.
Okay.
But it seemed right.
Maybe it means like open mind.
I did some retranslating like back and forth just to see if it changed and didn't. I think that's right.
Oh, that's really funny.
And then Josh said, I've seen this book get a lot of positive press on the Reddit community, the Reddit community, and I feel it is my patriotic duty to, all caps, pump the brakes.
Patriotic?
Patriotic duty. This book is just okay. It is not worth the 600-page slog. Maybe it once was, but not now.
What is the patriotic aspect of this, I wonder?
It's his patriotic duty to tell everybody this book is terrible, Lori.
To his homeland of Reddit.
It's for America. He told us for America. Oh, Lord of mercy.
Okay.
So it sounds like we're going to have a good discussion.
I don't hate this book. I just was not emotionally invested.
If you agreed with that guy, you hated this book.
I didn't have fun reading this book, yeah. But I like a lot of things about it. And I'm going to be very positive. But I never knew what was going on half the time. But that's par for the course.
I'm curious. I don't know if this would make a difference to you or not. Because I know you went through it pretty quick. Do you think it would have made a difference if you'd had more time?
No, I didn't like his prose style.
Okay.
I never knew what was happening with the dogs.
Yeah, I told you I had to go back and start again.
No, I tried. I mean, I spent hours reading this, and I just did not like the planet with the dogs or understand the planet with the dogs. So yeah,
I thought it was a really interesting idea. So
for sure.
The Tynes world, which is one of the 2 main settings for the book, the aliens that live there are basically packs of weird-looking wolves, for lack of a better way.
Oh, I imagine them as very big ferrets with longer necks.
Okay.
Oh, I just imagine like an Ella, just like dogs. Which I think maybe makes it harder.
Yeah, I don't. I think any of these are valid.
It's all fair game.
Yeah, they're described as sort of like biggish mammal-y type animals with long necks,
and kids see them as dogs when they at first glance they see them as dogs.
So maybe that's the closest thing they have. Who knows what they really look like.
Very long necks.
But they all exist. So one entity, like one soul, they call it one soul, is a pack of anywhere from 2 to 6 or 7.
Yeah, like one person has like 6 dog
parts.
bodies.
Yeah. I could definitely see why it would not be compelling to read for some folks, but I thought the idea was really interesting.
It's a super great idea. I needed more information about their society. I feel like all it was just bouncing between how there's a Flinser fragment and there's a... I just wanted more. Like they talked about...
I thought we got a lot about their society.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I want to know, so they grow beans? I want to know how dogs grow beans. Like I wanted more detail. All I kept getting was like this... I never understood who were the good guys. I don't know what Woodcarver was.
I have good news for you.
Yeah.
A deepness in the sky, basically all on Tynes World. Or a
Well,
lot of
it won the Hugo. Good news and bad news.
We tried to teach my girlfriend's dog to walk on a treadmill this weekend. And so I was trying to imagine dogs sailing a ship, dogs typing on a computer, dogs playing the trumpet.
I mean, they talk about these dogs doing a lot of things that I think would require opposable thumbs.
Same,
So
but
I
they use
can
their
only-
lips. So
Yeah, they use their lips, they use their tongue, they use their teeth, they use their hands.
And they
little
do a
hands.
lot of things because they're acting in concert.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
That I think like maybe six paws could do what a thumb could do.
You know what I kept thinking about was, in Labyrinth, when she's in that little that tunnel thing with all the hands.
Yes.
That's what I kept thinking about, like a bunch of hands just working together.
I don't know. I was confused by a lot of like the political machinations of their society. So
That's fair. I mean, it is. I do think a lot of it could have been clearer.
I wasn't 100% sure on everybody's motivation beyond just like, I want to be in control.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's frequently a motivation for a war, so
Yeah.
whatever. But at one point when woodcarvers were marching toward Flinser, and someone thought to themselves, not sure what this is all for. And I was like, me neither, buddy.
Well, that's true for every war.
yeah, I think that is right. I think that's right.
I think the way I was thinking about it was like, the woodcarver society was sort of going towards enlightenment, right? And they kind of got stopped by this sort of fascist, group that was basically created by this one Tyne.
Flinser.
Yeah. So like steel is literally created by Flinser to do the things he is doing, right? He has very little, I think, say in how he approaches things. And so it's like, that's, to me, it was like enlightenment versus like sort of fascism. That's how I thought of it.
But Flinser is woodcarver's child. Dun 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 dun.
I like Flinser was interesting because part of Flinser was a different soul.
Terrathect.
Yes. And so they were like fighting internally. It's like, it was like
Yeah.
Quirrell and
It is like that.
Harry Potter. So they're like fighting internally for like, dominance in this one. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is. I was thinking a lot about the ancillaries and ancillary justice and their shared mind, and like how also the powerful people, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like Anna Andor was like the boss of the whole universe, and she has like a bunch of different bodies and they're all her.
yeah.
But they're not. It's a little different because like they're all individual people, even though they're the same person, so they can like betray each other. But I think as we get toward the end, where the Tynes can use the radios to sort of individuate,
So that was interesting.
I kind of wondered. I was like, what if one of these Flinsers starts scheming against another Flinser? Because they already had that division within them. Some
And,
of them were
yeah.
Flinsers, some of them were Terrathect.
All of them were looking out for number one.
So once
It
they
seemed
were
like so.
able to act independently, I wondered if there might be some internal backstabbing going on.
Well, that's what
Maybe
happened.
that'll be in the next book.
But that's what happened. So like the one that was the Flinser was the one. Flinser ended up using the radio, which meant that Tyne could spread out. Normally they have to be pretty close to each other.
Didn't they all wear a radio? I thought they were all
Nope,
wearing
just
a
the one.
They got the cloak, right?
Oh, I think they all.
They-
I thought they all did.
Nope.
How do they talk then?
It was Flinser, and each of the little animals in Flinser
Yeah.
had a radio.
Okay.
Right. That's
Okay.
what I mean.
Okay,
That's
okay.
what I mean.
I thought
All of Flinser's pack members.
Yes, they all had radio, so they could spread out.
Yeah.
And that's how ultimately he saved Jeffrey and Amdi.
Oh, what I mean is like Flinser A betraying Flinser B because they can wear the radios, so they can like act separately.
Like within a pack.
Yes.
I got you. Okay.
And I feel like part of them being Terrathect and part of them being Flinser might also create an
I
opportunity
do
for
think that ended up being a thing.
Like maybe that would be something in one of the next books as
That'd be cool.
they figure out ways to be individuals. I don't know.
But I wonder if that's like trying to split a human personality.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean, I think Vernor can do whatever he wants with it, so
He could.
who knows where it'll go. I bet when we read the next book, we'll find out.
Maybe. Yeah, I like to keep track of what people try to do with aliens because, a lot of the time, especially, I watch Star Trek a lot. All those aliens are kind of the same. So I really like a good, weird, creative alien.
It's like nothing else, man.
He had some good ones in this one. He had a mean butterfly people,
Yep.
which I was into. He had at least one malevolent superintelligence. He had the Dyrokines, which were the ones that were flying around with the
They had long fingers and short fingers.
long fingers and short fingers, and they were twinned pairs of people.
Yeah, and
Apparently.
they were flying around with the Anyara fleet.
I think it's hard for me because he got so specific sometimes and then so general others. Like, I don't know what the blight was.
The blight was a artificial intelligence, for lack of a better
Yeah, like I was picturing like in Fifth Element, there's just like a big burning sun thing.
Oh, like you couldn't picture what it looked like?
Yeah, I
well, it doesn't look like anything.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah,
I
but
don't
like
know.
I didn't know like what. I don't understand like any of the evil motivation. So yeah,
Yeah, power, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
it's just very. It's not like Darth Vader. It's like
Yeah, it's not a guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is like
It's-
Darth Vader, though, because Darth Vader just like wants power, I guess.
Well, it's interesting to think about, like, so I the way I pictured the powers that which are the ones that sort of inhabit the transcend was like completely amoral beings.
But is it like a civil? Like were they on a spaceship? Was it
The
1,000?
I
Was
thought
it?
they're just consciousnesses.
Yeah,
Are they in like a device?
I think he can take over people. He
Can
take
be.
over machines. He can.
Yeah. I just struggle with like visualizing it.
I would liken them to Jane in Ender's Game.
Oh yeah.
The consciousness that's born out of the Ansible network. And
Yeah.
she doesn't have a physical existence until she does. Like she gets a body down the line,
Yeah.
but she just sort of exists as a consciousness wherever she wants to, kinda.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of them are kind of like that. And also the Blight has big Borg energy.
Big Borg energy.
yeah.
Big
Quote,
Borg
all
energy.
will join eventually.
That's actually, I think that's a really good comparison, actually.
Thank you.
Except for the fact that the Borg never really like takes over machines, but
Yeah.
except for making everybody into a machine.
It would if it could.
What if it could? But yeah, like there's no just like singular Borg. It's like the Borg is everything it's in.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of like what the Blight's doing. But
Yeah.
I agree. It's hard to.
And
hard to
it's
picture.
similarly doing an ancillary thing. I wondered if there would be a parallel going somewhere between how the Blight infects all these various minds and it's sort of taken over the humans and it's taken over the writers and it's in their minds. So they are, once you're infected with it, you are the Blight. And then we also have on the Tynes world, these little guys who
Yeah.
have a bunch of bodies that are one guy. And I wondered if that might go somewhere. Maybe it'll go somewhere later.
Yeah.
But I saw like this very clear parallel and I thought, oh, maybe the Tynes are going to like know how to defeat it because they understand a shared consciousness or something. But that didn't happen.
I'm trying to remember that. I think the second book,
was
some of
wrong.
it definitely has something to do with the Tynes because I started reading the beginning of it.
Yeah,
But,
I thought it was
most of it is
Fams,
New
yeah,
End,
which I would love to read about Fam. Like I like
So most of it is like 30,000 years before.
Yeah.
Or something like, it's like 8,000 years from now, I think.
Oh, it's before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's everything it's that whole King Ho Fam New
Oh,
story.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd been led to
But I
believe
know the
that whole
Tynes
thing
do
was
show up,
fake.
so I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I struggled mostly just with the Tynes, and I think like, Lori actually predicted that
Yeah.
and group me.
Oh, yeah. On the very first page when it said Peregrine
Rick
Rackrem, and I was like, oh no.
It does have a little
This
bit.
book is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So, lest everyone think that I hate this book, I don't hate it. I just didn't. It wasn't for me. But here's what I loved. I love the scope. I love the zones of thought. I thought that was really cool because I personally don't believe that the speed of light maybe is necessarily the cosmic speed limit. I don't know.
I don't know how to tell you this,
Yeah.
but the zones of thought were created by the Blight, or created by something to fight the Blight, one or the other.
Yeah,
What?
I love that idea.
How do you know that?
I read stuff about the book. I didn't know it while I was reading.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't hate the blight. I just don't. I can't picture it in my mind, and that helps for me when I read. I love the idea of civilizations rising and falling back and forth, and how if you blast yourself back to the Middle Ages, you get back to space flight. Like they talk about things in this book in like tens of thousands of hundreds
Like
of thousands of
geologic
years.
time.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I love the idea of the slowness. Like I said earlier, when they were on, so they spent about 9 months on this ship,
Yeah.
and they're just waiting, and it kind of gave me less entertaining Journey to a Small Angry Planet energy by Becky Chambers, which I love. Like weird aliens, they're together in a locked room, but like all
These aliens weren't even talking half the time. Because
I know. Like
Yeah.
I love the Scrotum writers, but like Fam is just angry and angsty.
he was.
So yeah,
The thing I kept thinking about when they were on the ship is that they didn't have gravity. And in like a lot of things,
Yeah.
they have artificial gravity and it's just sort of hand waved like, yeah, we have gravity. We can walk around. And they kept, I mean, this was so consistent too. They'd be like, she, pulled her way along or someone's up on the ceiling. And I was just like, oh my God, that seems fucking awful. But then I was like, I guess people living on the space station don't have any gravity ever. That sounds horrible.
well, that's what
There's people stuck in space right now with no gravity.
true. But most science fiction books, there's like anti-grav, or there's
Yeah.
like gravity generators.
Well, yeah, but in this one, there's not, is what I'm saying. It
Yeah,
stuck out to me. And I was just like, that seems fucking horrible. But then it dawned on me that is actually what it's like to be on the space station. Because there's no gravity on the space station, right?
I hope that they were exercising 2 hours. A
I'm
day.
asking you guys, I genuinely don't
There's
know.
none.
There's none.
What was the
So I just was confirming that in real life, there's no gravity on the space
There's no
station.
Have I
That
told-
seems fucking horrible.
So-
I need to lay down on my pillow.
In gravity, there is obviously you're not stepping on the bottom of your feet, and so there's lots of little rails that you could like hook your foot under. So
Yeah.
And so they start to get calluses here instead of the bottom of their foot.
Oh, weird.
Isn't that awesome?
I just need to lay down. I think I would be so sad not to feel the like weight of flopping down on a couch.
So having just been underwater for many hours, I love to flop on it. I spend most of my workday laying down, but that's because we have the gravity pressing down on it.
Yeah.
When you're underwater, it just feels great. You're just like, And underwater is like,
That's
space.
I tried to go to one of those zero gravity relaxation chambers where you float
one of
around
those
in
float
salt
tanks.
water. I found it very disquieting, actually, because I didn't feel like it was going to hold my head up.
Don't drown.
It was. I'm not sure if I did it right.
Yeah, and the ferns are very cute.
Oh, I love them. Can we each talk about what we think they look like?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so I actually asked AI to generate it, and it was like a houseplant on a Vespa scooter.
So mine, for the people in the room who is me, only me, are familiar with the original generation of Pokemon, I imagined the Pokemon Executor in a self-propelled wheelbarrow, but with a less goofy face. Because Executor has like a few faces and they're very goofy looking.
I imagined a palm, like a palmetto palm.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
a tree, but like one of the little bushy ones.
Yeah. That's like an Executor.
Okay, cool. So that in a like sitting in a box that's on a skateboard.
Yeah.
That's what I pictured.
Okay, yeah.
I pictured very lo-fi for some reason.
I think this is what that guy on Goodreads was talking about being relaxed. You have to really go in with an open mind.
This is showing them Executor.
Yeah, but more fronds.
Fluffier,
Yeah.
more fronds.
Because if you try explaining with a straight face to somebody, well, like, they're Scrotum riders and they're on a skateboard that also holds their memories.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And I think I did struggle with that a little bit, which is funny because I like a Chewbacca, which is a big walking rug.
I don't understand, where does a baby Scrode get it? Where does a baby rider get its Scrode?
Is it like a hermit crab? They just show up? Can it be like a...
It is like a hermit crab, Haley. That's such a good
That's a good
analogy.
question, actually. I don't know where the
But yeah, like
Well, somebody gave them
right. So
lesser riders.
So that's
right?
the one of the twists in the book is that the Scrode Riders are these very innocent seeming sort of traitor species that don't seem to have much in the way of what's the word?
Yeah, what...
Wiles.
A houseplant wouldn't have
Yeah.
malice.
Yeah, like they're very benign little aliens. And then at some point in the book, you find out that they have these little so they don't have a long-term memory naturally. And so someone 5 billion years ago gave them this technology that they could ride around in these Scrodes and achieve long-term memory basically, and that gave them the ability to leave and go do stuff.
Yeah.
It's so funny and
I
weird.
know.
Yeah.
And so you find out at some point in the book that the thing that gave them the Scrodes 5 billion years ago was the Blight.
So was that the same blight that they create? So
Yeah. So the Blight was sitting on that planet in a little data cube for 5 billion years.
Okay.
And so they go and wake it up. And so 5 billion years ago, it set up its own
Plan of attack.
by giving the Scrodes these things. Or it was what he was doing then.
That's so smart of them. You think they wouldn't have been stuck in a little box?
Talk about playing the long game.
Yeah. I do have a lot of questions about how they ended up in that box. But
I didn't notice there was a box.
So the Scrodes have these
I was just
things-
guessing. 'Cause, like, I couldn't. I was like, well, how do they? Did they press a button? Were they mining?
the way I have no idea. The way I read it was they went and explored some ruins because I think this there was other stuff that was there
Oh.
and they found this there. Like someone put it there on purpose to stay there.
It's the blight
And
box.
it's either some sort of hard drive or some sort of like data.
There's a lot of
device.
MacGuffins in this book, and I think that's maybe the first one. And then there's like the MacGuffin of the countermeasure.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
What was I gonna say about? I was talking about Scrodes for some reason.
They were part of the plot.
They're cute.
Oh yeah,
ultimately betray them.
one of them turns evil momentarily.
She doesn't, though.
She doesn't mean to.
She's taken over.
She's not her fault.
She doesn't mean to.
Oh,
We were
ultimately
talking about where
betrayed.
they get their Scrodes. So
Oh,
So the Blight gave them Scrodes at some point, but I do not know if they are making new ones for themselves. They might be.
Well, Blue Shell built a new one for Greenstalk after they found out she was infected. And
So they might be
So-
building them.
he built her a less fancy one because that was what he had materials for on their ship.
They're traders. They go around and they trade. They get the raw materials to make new Scrodes. They take them back home. Maybe that.
I'm trying to imagine Anne listening to this episode next month and being like, "What?"
So,
Yeah.
like, Greenstalk at the end is going to have a bunch of baby Scrodes, but they're just going to be trees.
They're just gonna be plants. Yeah.
They're
They don't
going to
have
be
the
they're going to be sentient trees, but they're not going to go anywhere or talk about much.
They're going to live in the moment is what they're going to do.
They're
sound
sessile
so
normally.
bad.
So they're kind of like barnacles or trees. They just like hang out in one spot if they don't have their riders.
They're like sea plants.
Do you think someone has to water them?
No, they live in the ocean.
No, but like when they're on the riders though.
Oh, well, they first met in a pub, so maybe they.
I mean, these are regular sentient creatures, guys. They know how to feed themselves.
Well, I know, but like they
can
don't
do
have
things
arms.
with their little
Well, do they-
hands.
Well, but like do they?
I mean, Bluestock is flying a ship.
Well, yeah, but
Uh,
he probably has. They have to go to the pub and get a glass of water, or get watered. Do you think when they go to the pub, the server is like comes with a watering can and is like, "Say when?"
He's like, oh no, I'm driving.
Well, they're all always driving,
Did we
aren't
read
they?
the book or did we take mushrooms?
I'll tell you why I identified with the Scrotum riders because I'm pretty sure they are neurodivergent. They Blue Shell. The way that Blue Shell talks is one of my very favorite things in the whole world.
It's so cute.
My favorite thing is when he says the reaction that he is having.
Oh yeah,
Like, I am shaking my head in disbelief. That's probably my favorite one.
that was cute.
Because they don't have faces, they don't have heads. You
Yeah.
can't tell what they're doing
He's
unless they
explaining
tell
his
you.
emotions. I'm shaking my fronds at you.
He's explaining his emotions.
That's like how humans eventually can, but initially can't read the mannerisms and gestures of the times. And then eventually they're like, oh, that's a shrug.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a smile.
I mean, this is all about some communication.
Yeah, it's-
Working on communication.
Yeah, I really like it.
I also like this description of Blue Shell. Blue Shell especially got trapped into cycles of behavior, repeating an action and immediately forgetting the accomplishment.
Oh,
And I was
buddy.
like, boy, have I ever identified
Aw.
with anything.
I think he needs a
More
better Scrode.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe. As a race, the Scrotum riders preferred lazy reminiscence to almost any activity.
Samesies.
I love them.
I wonder if they prefer it because that's all they know. Like they ain't gonna run a marathon. They can't.
They have just natural tendencies. They like to hang out in the surf.
I mean, these two are working. They're working Scrodes.
That's true.
Yeah, they're
But they would prefer lazy reminiscence.
and there's a
Who among us?
They go find more Scrodes when they go to Heaven's Rest or whatever it's called, Harmonious Repose.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of Scrodes there. They're all doing stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
they're hardworking guys. They would just rather chill, and I think that's true of everybody.
Who among us
Mhm,
wouldn't rather chill?
No one among the four of us.
Oh, speaking of Harmonious Repose, that reminds me. That's the Moby Dick connection. Because there's the alien that it walks around on tusk legs.
Oh, the Scrimshaw. Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
Scrimshaw. One of them has a bunch of Scrimshaw.
That was cool.
It's like their version of tattoos.
Yeah.
It was great. So one thing Joe said, I think it was Joe at some point, said basically there's all these little ideas in this book that she says like would give any other writer
Oh, for sure,
a
yeah.
whole book, right?
Yeah, like I would like a whole Scrode backstory.
Like this whole Scrode thing is crazy to think about. The way he thinks about ships is really interesting. I don't know why this thing's called a bottom lugger. I think it means it's because it has the ability to fly through the slow zone and some don't. There are other things that randomly get thrown out. Like, what's a death cube?
Yeah, there's what's I don't know what a god shatter is.
What's a god chatter?
Yeah, I don't know. There's just like nouns, and I'm like just like a footnote.
I got
Give
cookie
me
in my
a
mouth.
footnote.
I just got up and got some cookies. God Shatter is just like the leftovers of the power,
Yeah.
the remnants of the power.
It downloaded some of itself into
in
FAM, I
FAM.
guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that phrase and that concept is just wild. I love
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
much like Haley kept looking at Scrode and seeing Scrotum,
Mhm.
Shatter was really a problem for me. God Shatter, it looked like God Shitter. I saw the past tense of shit every single time.
I saw a metal
Aw.
band name.
God chatter.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
Scrode Rider could be.
Yeah, actually, I think, it's insane that I'm saying this, but I would have preferred footnotes in this so that I could have been like, oh, because I found a lot of good articles. I was like, oh, okay, this explains the relationship between Tesseract and Woodcarver or Therattack. I don't know.
You want the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell version of this book?
I need some help. sometimes.
Desperate times.
I know. I did love Piranesi, though, so
Oh, me too.
That one's tough to follow, too.
Unanimous.
I know.
I thought he had a lot of good. I really liked what he did with the internet in this book too. So that's one of my favorite things about this book. It was written in 1993. Usenet was a thing.
It was the thing.
So the internet in this book is Usenet.
I don't know what Usenet
So
is.
Usenet was basically
Message boards.
it's the beginning of
Oh, okay.
message boards. So like there was all these disparate servers.
Yeah.
And people could log in to the net through their little server.
It's kind of like proto Reddit almost.
Yeah. It's just, and the way it worked was there were, you had a server you had to log into, and then and whatever you wrote in that server got like repeated in all these other servers. So there was no like one location for any one. There's no like centralized thing for Usenet.
I appreciate that you respect me enough to look at me like I understand.
Okay, cool. I saw a picture on the internet that helped me a lot.
It makes me feel like I'm doing a good job pretending I'm smarter
If you
than
think
I
about
am.
the way the people in this book are using the internet, it's exactly the same thing. So you have so what you get in the book is various threads, but various Reddit threads.
Yeah.
And it says in the little, it's probably metadata, but it says in there where they're logging in from.
Yeah.
And what server, like what relay they're using.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to be kind of near or have a subscription to or use in some way some node, right? Because people are like, I don't get a lot of mail. It's too expensive for me to talk a lot, so I'm just going to say this one thing. So reading those things was like one of the most interesting things to me in this book.
Relay reminds me of, so the beginning of the book, so I love the first third of this book. I love Ravna, and her being on Relay was kind of like reminded me of Arcady.
Memory Called Empire.
Memory Called Empire. Yeah, it's like she's the only human in this one place, and it's weird and it's different, and I like her weird boss, and I like the idea of like this is like an internet waste station. I love that.
Yeah.
So.
I liked her boss. Her boss was a big insect alien.
Yeah, that was cool.
That and she talked a lot about trying to read its facial expressions and couldn't.
Yeah.
I really liked how much they talked about the communication barriers.
Yeah.
But how people still manage to talk. And I think that's one of the reasons I like the net in this is because it's one way that these people who have no idea about each other are talking to each other, which is just like the internet now.
I think if on the spaceship, love Ravna, love Scroad Riders, if she could have made Fam a little bit more like engaging, I would have been like 100% there.
Yeah. He started out okay, and then he became a big old dick.
Such a dick.
Such a dick. I mean, I don't know how I would do with a bunch of gods in my head either.
Yeah.
But
you have to have sympathy for him once he finds out that he's probably not a real person.
So that does turn out to be wrong. He was a real person.
True.
Is that what
he was
you
just
were saying?
worried? He was worried that it was all fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he thought he was a real guy, and then he found out it seemed pretty likely that he wasn't a real guy. And do you know that he's a real guy because of the second book?
They do say it at some point.
Yeah, he
in
is,
this
but
book.
like
they do
it's
say
all,
it.
like I pictured him as Jason Mendoza from The Good Place.
I just did. I was torn between being like he sucks and being like, well, it's got to feel really bad to be like maybe everything I remember is fake.
He was like melting before he got they escaped. Like he was like a barely held together corpse.
Yeah.
I just wanted a little bit more discussions because like these people have sex, like they're into each other, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm mad and I'm blocking off the space station and I'm done. And I'm like, okay, well, there's my interest.
That part was inflexible.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why he likes him. There's the part where he's like, she loves you, you fool. And I was like, does she? And then a couple pages later, I was like, oh, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Well, I had to give her a little bit of slack because she hasn't seen another human in several years.
That's true.
So I was like, that probably goes a long way.
He's kind of heroic and dashing.
He does seem dashing.
He's a fascinating backstory.
It starts out physical.
When he's just being Fam, he seems like he's kind of got some rakish appeal.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, once he gets kind of mean and then is like threatening our little Scroad buddies, I was like, okay. And actually, the scene where he's basically like, I am going to kill them. And then she like gets between him and Blue Shell to protect Blue Shell. And I was like, I was very upset about it. Like, I was like, this looks like a scene of family violence to me.
Yes.
With the mom shielding the children.
Tense.
I felt very much like they were the parents and the Scroad Riders were the children and she was protecting the children from him. And it just made me so sad. And that's not a complaint. I was just like, this boat is a horrible place to be.
It was. It started out good and then got bad.
Yeah. Dad's gone real
it was very
crazy.
Comfortable. It was not a Becky Chambers novel. It was like a dysfunctional Becky Chambers novel.
Yeah. I felt a lot of tension in a lot of parts in this book. I actually wrote at one point, I was like, I can't remember the last book we read that made me feel that tense. Like, because he's very good at a cliffhanger.
Yes.
And he'll leave you and he'll go talk to the other people for a while and you're like, what happened with the other people? What are they doing?
Yeah. I would say probably like the last 50 pages I was reading as fast as I could. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And Kevin's like, how's your book? And I was like, I can't talk about it.
I was so worried. So Ravna and Fam et al. Show up at the Tynes world and they are basically, being convinced by the bad guys to napalm the good guys. And so you don't know for a while if they're gonna napalm the good guys or not. And it's like, it's very upsetting.
I had a little bit of beef with that because I thought, why do they just buy this hook, line, and sinker? And then they even occasionally will express some misgivings, like, what if we're the baddies? But they still are like...
Well, they believe Jeffrey.
Well, of course they do, but Jeffrey's like 8.
And he's manipulated the entire time.
Which they do seem to know.
They
yet.
do.
Yeah.
They do.
But they get there and they see it.
Even when Pham starts laser gunning woodcarvers, he's like, these might be the good guys, but I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And I was a little confused by that. I wasn't overly bothered, but
when they show up and they know where Jeffrey is and they see the attacking horde.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we got to protect
There's
Jeffrey.
An attacking horde. Yeah.
I was flying through the end because every chapter starts with, and then 7 minutes away, and then 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Away. And I was like, well, just tell me what happened.
But I kind of love that because he does try really hard, I think, to give you a sense of scale in this book. Like,
yeah.
That reminded me that so there's that battle that takes place right before they get to the Tynes world. So our ship of heroes is being pursued by the Blight. It's also being pursued by a bunch of aliens who think humans are vermin. And so they're trying to escape two different people at once. So they sort of orchestrate this method of getting those two guys to fight each other instead of them having to fight them both. But the jumping, so they fought each other using, like they were doing these weird little quantum jumps or something.
Yeah, I didn't understand it.
Fascinating. Like they were trying to jump at each other to a point where they could
fire.
Shoot. Yeah, right. So like they had to kind of try and figure out where the other person was going to appear and to be there and then shoot them. Like, I thought that was, I never would have thought of anything like that in my life. I thought it was brilliant. I
had a hard time following it because the distances were
insane.
so far. They were like, we're 50 million kilometers. And I was like, I can't do anything with that. And that's a me issue, but I was just like, at that scale, I can't do
I just didn't know what they were trying. Like, was it with lasers or?
It sounded like they had some sort of like bombs, like nuclear bombs or something that they were trying to. Basically, they were trying to erupt the bombs in the place the ship would show up.
Yeah.
So the ship would blow up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
At that point in the plot, I was like, I know this is just a distraction. Please take me to the planet. It's like,
yeah, and now I remember that part because the out of band, our hero ship, escaped. They jumped. Like, not before a bomb blew up, but, like, almost at the same instant, just enough after that they got, like, a little scorched.
They got singed.
And they were just like, holy shit, we got lucky.
I thought that was, I mean, the whole part of them running to the slow zone, like, well, the last part of them running to the slow zone, you see them being pursued, and you don't know how they're going to get out of it. So I liked that part, because it's like watching, any swashbuckling show where our hero gets in a scrape and you don't know how they're going to get out of it. I thought it was really
It made me think of the suspenseful scenes that Dan Simmons always has in his books that I enjoy so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
relax mind, Haley. Relax mind.
I know. At that point, I was like,
yeah, you are trying to get them to the planet.
I wanted to know what was going on. Like, I spent 10 months on this spaceship, and I was like, I know this is just, and if you like his prose, it's fun. But I was like, I just want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Because like, there's no way they're going to die.
I thought it was action packed enough that I wasn't like
exactly. Yeah. No. I was like, I just want to get
different
to the
strokes.
planet.
Yeah. At one point, they do say a mile is a fat kilometer, which was helpful.
Yeah, I highlighted
that line is in the book.
It's a fat kilometer.
It's like, thank you for putting that in for your American friends. I did. What do you guys? Are you on Reddit?
Yeah.
What are your favorite threads?
You mean subreddits?
Yeah. What'd you read?
There's one called The 10th Dentist, which is people that have. They're like 9 out of 10 dentists agree on something. What's your 10th dentist opinion? There's also one called 8'11", so it's when trucks get stuck in bridges and they get can opener. I like a lot of weird Reddits.
There's a lot of silly Reddits. I like Find the Sniper, which is like people post a picture and they're like, find the baby marmot, and you're like, it's not in there really, and then it is in there and it's great. I like that one. I like Spider Bros.
I like absolute trash, absolute garbage, but absolute trash, but great execution. And it's like a horrible thing, but well done. Like a Garfield fucking Marvin the Martian tattoo, but it's like well done and the ink is great.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was wondering, because they have he has these interest groups and the little messages, and some of them are great. The last one that's in there is Society for Rational Network Management, which I feel like we probably need for the internet now.
We do.
I would read that one.
I mean, he was very close to being true. I mean, he's true. That is the net of a million lies.
Yeah, his explanation of the internet was really interesting. One of them was, he said, it's an old evil they've awakened. Till it's ready, it will feed them lies on every camera and every message from home. I was like, that's the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's AI.
It's AI.
Yeah.
I have a chilling line I highlighted from Flincer, or about Flincer. One of his greatest talents was empathy. No sadist can aspire to perfection without that diagnostic ability. Ooh. I like paused when I read that. I was like, oh dear. I felt very sorry for Ravna that at the end of the book, she ends up mother to 150 frozen
no kidding.
orphans. She didn't sign up for that.
She wanted to be a librarian.
And she has no adult humans for doing intercourse, which she really missed.
Yeah.
Never again.
And her main motivation was to help Jeffrey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to find the blight.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I think it became clear to them in the beginning that ship had something to do with.
Yeah. So the countermeasure was mold?
Yes.
The countermeasure was mold that somehow got into Pham Nguyen, and then Pham Nguyen thought hard, and then the slow zone expanded.
He did a big lightning energy wave and trapped the Blight fleet, but also a lot of
planets
in the slowness.
Like thousands of more.
It's
like everybody woke up and their iPhones were bricked.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you were on a ship trying to go somewhere, that ship's not moving.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
You're dying on that ship. Awful.
Yeah.
This is the trolley problem.
In a galactic war, we have to make hard choices.
Yeah. Do you sacrifice 1,000 civilizations to save the future of everyone else?
I guess you have to.
I mean, you have to.
But they said trillions of deaths. I was like, I don't know about that equation.
They did say trillions of deaths, but if the Blight had taken over, there would be no more anything.
Yeah.
So...
But even
would
the
it all
Blight?
just be different? Would we just be different? We would all just have a little dash of the Blight.
Can't know. I think I'd prefer not to be an automaton.
Maybe you already are.
Fair. I would like to stay in the Matrix, thank you.
Right. Right. Maybe you'd be like Cypher. You'd be like, that seems fine. The steak's good.
So sometimes I pictured the Tynes as, do you remember the show Wishbone, the dog?
Yeah.
I pictured him as like the medieval Robin Hood. I just couldn't take the Tynes seriously.
Wishbone is like the basis for everything that I know about the classics.
Yeah, same.
On the Tynes world, is everything silent because they talk in their minds?
I don't know.
Oh. I don't think they talk, because they talk to they can hear each other's mind noise, but they don't like that. So they talk out loud, because, they stay like 30 meters apart for politeness.
It says gobbling and hissing is what it's described by
that's noise.
The kids.
There was castles, and was Flinster a king?
He was a dictator.
Oh, they take tape.
They do take
In
tape.
this book,
Oh.
they
They
take
take tape.
After Pham arrived at Relay, and he says, my sleep is full of little voices.
Aw.
Because he's taking tape to learn things about how to be a person.
That's like also in The Fifth Element when What's-Her-Face is like, I gotta learn all about humanity.
Yep.
And Satine.
She has a data set.
I pictured it as an iPad. They're just like, okay, Google bomb.
I loved the fact that they were basically using a child's iPad.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And it looks
like an elephant.
It's wrapped up in a fuzzy elephant jacket.
It's like a Kindle, like a fire
Very
Kindle.
funny to me. And they treasure it, and it's like,
and they call it data set, like
it's so good.
like it's its name.
Go
like
get data set.
What does data set say? Oh, it's so funny.
I wonder how it worked without the internet. Maybe it just had downloaded stuff.
Oh yeah, it was like I guess if Wikipedia was stored to one little elephant device.
That's like in Station 11.
Yeah,
when
he
he
downloads
downloads Wikipedia to his little PlayStation or whatever he has.
I've been getting ads on TikTok for a big book you can buy, and I don't know what it's called. But it's got how to restart civilization. It's like, this is how you plant beans, and this is how to make a
I'm glad to know that exists.
I know. I mean, it's obviously a gimmick, but I'm glad it exists.
Definitely want to get that in print
I
only.
mean, it's a gimmick, but maybe also right.
True.
Feminist fave?
I have one. At some point, they're talking about Pham, and he goes, well, the fellow had been born in a male-dominated culture, virtually the opposite of the matriarchy that all beyond our humanity descended from.
Yep.
That was nice.
I like that one.
I like the fluid gender identity of the Tynes.
Oh, that's nice.
That it is not determined by biology. It's like, what does the soul feel like it is at this point?
I thought it was just whoever's the majority sex.
I'm not sure.
It was unclear.
And it didn't seem like anyone was ever really paying attention to anyone's parts.
Yeah, it's like if there was one guy and one in one of the mating pairs and one
They
girl,
did say
those ones just would do it.
They did say too, any pack of all one sex is weird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And when Pilgrim re-encounters woodcarvers for the first time in a long time, and he was like, she, unclear about the gender preference at this point. So, and they said, I think they said preference. So it's like, you are like, this is who I am, instead of this is how many dicks versus not.
I mean,
That's how many dicks we have.
If you only have the one.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're dealing with species like this, I mean, gender, what is gender anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, your boss is an insect. Like, what are you supposed to do with that?
I just liked that it was fluid and self-determined and not a big deal.
At one point, Fam says something to Blue Shell, and Blue Shell says, I hear several misconceptions, my lady Fam.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't make sense to him.
The honorifics don't make a difference to him.
Also, like, ancillary justice.
Yeah. I thought that was great. Yeah, I had the one that Haley said about the matriarchy. Where the hell? I had the one about the matriarchy, and I also had I like the Age of Princesses.
That
legends
cute.
that they had. It reminded me of like if Disney princesses were like the only lore you had.
Yeah.
It was kind of great. I also love that our hero is a lady librarian.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that she had some good cardigans.
I'm sure she did. I'm sure she really looked at you over the top of her glasses.
I bet she did. Misogynist moment.
I don't really have one.
I had one. I had two technically.
I have a small one.
Yeah.
When Ravna talks to the Anyara fleet, and she says, "Ladies and gentlemen," and the one guy says, "We're not your gentlemen, slut.
Yep.
You're not some princess we happily die for. You deserve our deadly fire now, nothing more." And I thought, I understand.
Where did slut come from?
I understand why he's upset, but I'm sad that slut is still a slur like many millions of years in the
bitch
future.
was right there.
It's not even English anymore.
Bitch was right there. He could have
You know they used to set a son of bitches on times? They say get of bitches.
Get of bitches. I love that. Yes. The other one that I had besides the "we are not your gentleman slut" was at one point the narrator calls Ravna the woman for no apparent reason. She was like, Blue Shell was addressing her, and she said, "Hold on, I'm doing something." And the way the narrative wrote it was Blue Shell says something, and then it something the woman said. Like,
I think that's like something he wrote and meant to do like Control F and put in Ravna once he decided on a name.
I think that I think you just nailed why I struggle with this book, because it's third person. I think if I was in Ravna's head or in Steele's head, it would make more sense.
Huh.
There's a disconnect from like motivation, and like I don't like after Ravna gets on the ship, and I love when she talks to Jeffrey, but like after that, I'm like, what's going on in her head? I want to know.
I'm just thinking about it because I just did Lonesome Dove with Seth.
Yeah.
And Lonesome Dove is like a masterclass in omniscient third person narrator, whatever. Like it just bounces between people, and it's never like I do anything.
It can be done well.
He does it great. So I was just thinking.
I mean,
I was just trying to think if I had an issue with that.
Yeah.
Or if I would have had more of an issue with that if I didn't just finish reading Lonesome Dove. I don't know.
Yeah, like Vernor is obviously. I mean, he's a computer science professor. He's an idea guy.
Yeah.
He's a technical guy. But yeah, like I wanted to know more about. She spends 9 months on this. Did they play games? I don't know. Like, I need a little more humanity in between the big epic set pieces. I think.
How do we feel like he wrote Ravna?
It starts out great. Like she reconnects with a human. They have fun anti-gravity sex where you bounce off the walls. But then it's like I don't know anything else about her besides messages to Jeffrey, which I love.
She's got some lady tropes.
There are some stereotypical things going on.
I mean, they don't necessarily bother me, but I definitely noticed them, and I didn't notice much outside of that. So, she's a librarian, which we like. We like that.
Yeah.
But then, like,
it's a very female job.
At the end, in the big battle, she's up in the outer band.
Yeah.
And Fam, I think, isn't she in the ship? And Fam and Blue Shell are on the ground doing the fighting. And I was kind of like, man, she came all this way. And I mean, listen, if I'm a librarian, I don't know how to do
true.
battle.
I don't want to go to that fight.
But I think she was in the ship, wasn't she?
Unclear. Yeah.
Because remember, then they land after and they kind of semi-crash a little bit because now the ship isn't smart.
I do not remember.
I don't think she's not like on the ground during the battle.
And that does
Blue
make
Shell
sense,
goes
but-
through the fire.
Yeah.
And I know Fam is there when he does that. Yeah, Ravna, very maternal.
Yes.
She has a billion children at the end of
Yes,
this.
Yeah.
right.
Ravna falling in love with the hero, like immediately,
Mhm.
and suddenly is ride or die for him
I
without
still like
much
her.
motivation.
I like that she stands up for him. I like that the way that she is standing up is on behalf of children or childlike
Right.
characters.
Not for herself.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, here's the thing. I do think when you stand up for other people, you stand up for yourself. I actually think that's the same thing. Or when you stand up for yourself, you stand up for other people. I think fighting back against a bully is always a good thing in a
I'm not
in a
saying she did a
character.
bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
But so it's like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me, but I also feel very aware of these sort of traditional feminine roles that she's filling. But then, like, she's also on a planet many systems away from her family, living her
great.
own life.
I mean,
and
her family gets blown up.
Yeah.
There's an Alderaan situation with her home planet.
absolutely.
So,
So like the personality traits that we get about her, I feel like are traditionally female, but as a whole, I like her as
she's
a
also very
character.
brave. She's very smart.
She is, yeah.
She's got a lot of agency.
She is.
I mean, I don't have a problem with her character in general, but I definitely think there was some sliding into stereotypes, I think, a little bit with her.
Yeah. And he chose to have a woman character for a reason. Maybe that's what he wanted to communicate. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, but what you said made me like, I would have liked to have been like, and then I thought about my Uncle Joe on the planet.
She has these very brief moments of thinking about her family.
Yeah.
But there's very little in the way of like grieving.
Yeah.
Like that kind of emotional depth is definitely missing.
I don't.
I mean, she definitely thought about them.
Yeah.
But
I think she couldn't think about them too much.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't even imagine.
The weight of everyone being gone and everyone who's even, I mean, your whole family of like humanity is gone.
Yeah. There's like you and some ships.
So
and one of them just called you a slut.
Yeah. She can't think about it too much.
Yeah.
And so much of this book is on a macro level.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. I mean, there's just no time or space.
There's definitely some interpersonal stuff going on. I mean, it's not all macro. But,
no.
But I'm with you.
True.
Like some of that emotion.
Yeah. I just think for me to connect more with it, I would need a little more of like, and then we played checkers for 2 hours. Just like little tiny things.
Like who made dinner?
Yeah. Like I need a couple of moments of joy.
Speaking of.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Boob talk first. I have one boob talk.
I bet we have the same one.
Technically, it's not boob talk.
Is it the bouncing around having sex?
It's making it on the bridge of a
that's what I have.
starship. Making it on the bridge of a starship was something Ravna had never done before. They don't call this a bottom lugger for nothing.
I don't even know what that means.
I feel like it's a dad joke that I'm not getting.
I don't get, Kevin, what does that mean?
Maybe because you're grabbing a butt.
Maybe.
Making it is such a boomer term. But I was happy that she had some nice zero gravity sex.
Yeah.
Isn't that how the Expanse starts?
They had sex in their tears.
Yeah.
They were crying and then the tears were just in the room. Like, damn, that's dark.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that I'm not crazy and that I still can't see anything, fam. It was Ravna from high above. What's going on? I think she's in... Where would she be that's high above?
Oh, you're talking about the ship?
Yeah, like during the battle when they're fighting and everything. I really thought she was... They took the lander. I thought that the man-human and the man-tree took the lander down. Yeah, why is she in his ear?
Oh, that's right. Somebody gets some. I guess Blue Shell and Fam get on the lander and she stays up.
I think that's right.
I think that is right.
Imagine taking a potted plant and not a woman with arms that can hold a gun to a battle.
But then the potted plant saves the child.
Yeah.
Saves the children. MD Jeffrey. How about how they get one name because they're always together? I like
They're a little pack.
Yeah, they are a little
They
pack.
were precious.
They were so cute. Okay, my boob talk. It's kind of a joke one. Did you guys read the intro?
Oh, no.
So my book had an introduction by John Clute, who is talking about basically how everyone's always complaining that science fiction is basically over. And he was like, I myself am guilty of that. In the early 90s, we were just like, science fiction has run its course. And basically saying like that he read this book and he was like, oh, something new. It's so good. But anyway, so he said, as I said myself in a talk given around that time in Chicago, the breast is shut. That was his metaphor for science fiction doesn't have anything left to give.
The breast is shut.
The breast is shut. Not even the breast is dry. The breast is shut.
What does that mean?
There's no more milk. There's nothing.
Oh,
the bar is closed.
Gotcha,
But it doesn't make sense because breasts don't open and shut.
True.
The breast
Maybe
is
yours
shut.
don't, Laura.
That's true.
I wasn't even thinking of a lactation metaphor. Damn. Not there.
No one ever expects a lactation metaphor. It comes and it gets you by surprise.
The breast is shut.
Fantastical food. I only could remember Johanna eating a fish at one point. That's the only food I could remember.
I didn't take any down.
They go to a bar, but I don't remember what they had.
These dogs grow beans.
Those
They do grow
the dogs
beans?
do grow beans.
And they eat onions, which is poisonous to dogs.
And there was
They're not dogs.
she ate something she didn't like. The food they gave her.
That was
She
the
was like,
fish.
"Oh, the fish." Yeah. Okay.
Or some sort of shellfish or something. And then they eventually
Yeah.
figure out she wanted her food cooked. So
I needed to, the end of left hand of darkness, and they're like traveling across the ice. And I just think about those food cubes so often. I just need,
They're Gitchy Mitchy.
yeah. Sometimes I just need a little food to humanize the story. It helps. So yeah.
Yeah, food would make good. Soap stuff.
Damn it.
I had a sibling you thought was dead and then comes back to life.
Ah, that's a good one.
I did it.
You did it.
I mean,
That's
a
a good
man
one.
that died 10,000 years ago and comes back.
Yeah. So,
There's one sentence that like he was like, I was born in a castle and now I'm a starship's cabin boy. Like I like that journey.
yeah.
You never know where life will take you.
That's true.
Or resurrection.
Did you like the book, ladies?
I really liked it.
Me too.
I did not have fun reading it, but I liked the ideas in it.
Good old fashioned idea book.
Very polite.
I mean, I did not hate it. I didn't. Again,
But your jam.
I struggle with books that aren't very clear, and that's just me.
Doesn't have to
There
be your
were
cup of tea.
Definitely things that could
I
have
am-
been fair. I did like his prose.
Really?
Yeah, I
you
did
mentioned before
too.
you didn't, but I did.
I would read pages upon pages, and nothing really would happen.
I felt kind of like with Snow Queen, where I was like, this is really long, but I like it enough that I don't
Exactly.
mind that it's overly long.
And that's all that matters. Like, if you're enjoying every single sentence, and you're like, oh my God, more. It's fine.
I mean, I definitely hit parts where I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. You know, I mean, I don't think it was perfect by any means, but I enjoyed reading it.
I never had trouble continuing to read it.
If
Even
it was-
even the parts I thought were overly long, I was still like, well, fine.
Yeah,
If it was just a space part, I would have been like B-.
I was lost. I mean, I started reading this book and I was just like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? And then I figured out that Rick Rack Rum was one thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I gotta go back and
It
read
is
the whole thing
very
again.
sneaky.
Yeah.
It is
No
very
idea.
sneaky with it because he's like, he peered up over the rocks, and I was like, wait, wasn't he somewhere else?
Well, and they say person at first, and I was like
Yeah.
picturing just like a guy pilgrim.
It is not clear at first, yeah.
I liked that.
I
about
did
it.
too. In the end, I did too. I kind of like, because, you know, they have those. I mean, I know this. We were sharing that TikTok of the girl who's like reading fantasy, and she's like, and then Dabba went to the castle with the Dabba, and you can't absorb what's happening. And a lot of the book, I feel like a lot of fantasy and a lot of sci-fi books do that thing where they're like too much exposition. You know, he drops you right in.
He does, and you have to figure out through context clues that
Yes,
we're
you
looking
do.
at a pack of 6 sentient weasels who are one weasel,
Or
and
the
they're
internet.
tall.
Yeah.
Okay, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I feel like this one's a gimme.
Lord of the Rings.
It's Lord of the Rings.
There's a couple Star Warsy things though.
I have
Yeah.
two.
I mean, there is a war in the stars, literally.
There's galactic civilization.
True.
There's spaceship. There's an Alderaan. There's an
Alderaan.
evil empire. So.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Maybe half of it is Star Wars and half of it is
Oh,
Lord of the
100%,
Rings.
Yeah.
Although
I mean,
part
it's
of
two separate books, kind of.
part of the reason I think it's Lord of the Rings is because of the Scroad Riders, because I'm pretty sure they're hobbits.
No, they're
Ents.
They're ants.
No,
Yeah.
no, they're hobbits.
They're little ents in wheelbarrow. Okay.
They're both.
A hobbit is to a human as a Scrotum rider is to an ent.
Except,
They have hobbit qualities.
there's a line that says, "Two little Scroad Riders journeying to the bottom of the beyond, surrounded by help from the transcend."
Oh.
And then they say, "To fam, no matter what romantics may think, traitors do not go on quests."
Oh my God, they're Frodo
They
and
went on an
Sam.
adventure.
Oh, that's cute.
And then at one point, the other reason was Joe in Why Is This Book So Great? I think is the name of the book. It's just a compilation of her tour articles. But she says, any one of the ideas in A Fire Upon the Deep would have kept an ordinary writer going for years. What Vinge gives us of his universe is like what Tolkien says of Middle-earth, an account of its end and passing away before its beginning and middle have been told.
Yes.
A Fire Upon the Deep is the story of an absolutely fascinating universe and how it came to an end.
That's in my book too. I really liked that.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Her whole little essay was good.
Is Fam Aragorn and Ravna is, I'm going to say Ravna's Eowyn.
Well, since there's not a lot of women in Lord of the Rings, maybe Ravna's Boromir.
Boromir?
Yeah.
She didn't steal a ring.
Boromir didn't steal a ring.
Boromir absolutely tried to steal the ring.
It was Boromir that tried to steal the ring. Never mind. Ravna's not Boromir. Who's Ravna?
She's Eowyn.
Hmm.
Eowyn kills the Nazgul king.
Is she Gimli?
It's not that I don't like Eowyn. I just don't. She's part of the group, though. Eowyn's the one part of the
That's
group.
true. There are no girls in the group.
Maybe she's Frodo.
No, Frodo's more important.
No, Bluestock's Frodo.
Kevin, edit this out.
Anyway, so half of it's Lord of the Rings, half of it's
I mean,
Star
she's
Wars.
Princess Leia.
Maybe she's Princess Leia.
She is.
She lost Alderaan.
She is. Yeah,
Princess
that's
Leia.
it. She's
All right,
Princess
so
Leia.
she's part of the
Well
Star
done.
Wars. She's part of the Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Fam Newman's not Han Solo.
Oh, he's kind of a Han Solo.
Yeah.
He definitely is. He definitely is.
He's dashing. He's swashbuckling. He's kind of a dickhead.
This is if Lord of the Rings and Star Wars had a baby that was a little bit boring.
Boring, just confusing.
All right, next time we're doing The Dispossessed with special guest Redfern John Barrett, author of Proud Pink Sky.
Woohoo!
Very excited.
Yes.
Love a guest.
Love a guest.
Listen.
B.
Are we going to do a spooky book or spooky movie?
Guest.
Oh, we'll probably have something for
guest.
for October for the kids.
Yeah. Do you
If
want?
you're good for a treat.
Do you want to do a movie since we're going to read a long book?
Yeah, that's true.
That sounds good.
Let's do it.
Let's do a movie.
I like talking about movies.
Listen, guys.
If you have an idea for a spooky special movie, let us know.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll watch it and maybe we won't.
Preferably one about a haunted house.
Listen, we don't make any promises. Okay, bye.
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 You go, girl. You go, girl. You go, girl. A hilarious podcast